everyone, my name is Tori, this is Nova Life, and welcome back to my channel. Today I have my Romantasy, fantasy TBR to share with you. So I have a whole shelf right here, from this all the way up. It's a big bookcase and it's dedicated to all fantasy and all romantasy books, and I have some ones that I pulled off of my shelf and it's sitting next to me, and I wanted to go through them and I just want to talk about why I want to read them. I don't know, I was thinking of trying to make content, what ideas, and I was like, you know what, I'm in a romantasy mood. I want to read a lot of romantasy books. Let me just sit down and talk about the books I want to read. Now, there are a couple that I'm going to talk about right off the bat that I do want to read in April. 2 of them for sure, maybe 3. We'll see. But the first one is A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. So this is a Viking fantasy romantasy book. I've heard mixed things. So I was hearing good things, and then I heard someone say it wasn't my favorite, and that made me kind of nervous. So she's a shield maiden blessed by the gods, battles to unite a nation under a power-hungry king while fighting her growing desire for his fiery son in this Norse inspired fantasy romance. I don't know. I hope I like it. I did like The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle L. Jensen when I read it. I thought it was a really good book. And I did like the second book. The third book, I don't know if I read the third book, but I do like her writing. So I'm really interested in this fantasy just because it's more of a Viking fantasy. And I did read The Road of Bones, which is also more of like a Viking type romance, of romantasy, I should say. So this got me really excited when I realized that. So I think I'm going to get the audio. I am doing a Patreon exclusive reading vlog for this, so you can always check out my Patreon. It's linked in the description box below. I always have a 7-day free trial if you just want to try it out. See if you like it. See if you want to be a part of it. If not, totally fine. But yeah, I will do a vlog on this one. I'm very excited for this one. The next one I want to read, I think she changed the title, but it's Bree's new book. I'll put it right here. This is the second book in this series. I read the first one in March. I'm so glad I don't have to wait very long. I know people have been waiting months for the second book, but I am very excited that I don't have to wait months. I cannot wait to read this. The way that the first book ended, I'm just in love with our female character. Rook is such a powerful female character, and you really see how powerful, how gracious, how strong, how independent, just how amazing she is in the first book, especially at the end. And I'm like, Soren, who's our main male character, you have a lot of groveling to do. You have a lot to make up for in the second book. I'm ready. I am so ready, and I'm so glad I gave Bree another chance, because honestly, like, Hwy Suite isn't my favorite, and the Broken Bond series is one I tried last year. Was it last year? I think it was last year. And I just couldn't get into it. I am diving more into Hwy Suite, so maybe I will try the Broken Bond series again. We'll see if I actually do that. That's like tentatively on my TBR, just because I do want to give her another chance because I liked The Crown of Oaths and Curses so much. So I think I'm going to read the second book in the series, see how that goes, and then try and dive into the Broken Bond series, because I know that's a fan favorite. But for this male-female, just MF romance that she's writing, this romantasy, I'm ready. I'm so ready. Now, these are some books I'm tentatively going to get into April. It is the rest of the Zodiac Academy series. So I do know Zodiac Academy 9 is coming out, which I did not know until I asked over at my Instagram for anticipated releases for April, and someone put Zodiac Academy 9. You can tell me if this is the last book, because my plan was I finished book 6, I had book 7, and book 8 was going to come out, I think, at the end of last year. And I said, you know what? If book 8's the last book, I'll just binge 7 and 8. Well, the authors came out and said, no, it's not the last book. And I was like, how much more are you going to drag this out? How much more are you going to drag this series out? So if book 9 is the absolute last book, I may read book 7, 8, and 9. Maybe not all in April, because those are really chunky books, but I do want to get to them at some point, because I want to say that, like, I finished that series. I had a fun time with that series. It's not like super fantasy heavy. It's very light fantasy. It's a fun fantasy. Is it perfect? No. But the characters are funny. The characters are interesting. I like that. It's like a multi-POV book. I do like that. I do enjoy that sometimes. And I just had like a good time with it. But I also didn't have that many expectations. So that's a tentative. Those 3 are a tentative. I just hope that book 9 is the last one, so I can like try and work on that this year, okay? Now, another one that my friend Jess at Peace Love Books read was Powerless by Lauren Roberts. She's been talking about this book nonstop, and honestly, my library had the audiobook, the hold came in, but I don't like physically listening. I don't like to just listen to an audiobook for a fantasy. I like to physically read along, and I did not have this book. And by the time this was shipped and it got to me, the audiobook expired. So I do have a hold placed on the audiobook again because I had to like redo it. I couldn't like just, you know, get it again. I think I have 4 weeks. So this is a tentative one for April. I'm trying to do a little bit more mood reading in April because I do just have a lot of new releases. So anything outside of those new releases, I just want to read like mood read. So who knows? I might pick it up if the audiobook comes in April, maybe in May. We'll see. But I've heard really good things. I've heard, you know, she loved it. It was one of her favorites. So I'm excited for this one. And I think the next book's coming out this year. Could be wrong. Now, the next one is kind of a cross between, I think it's more paranormal than fantasy, but I am technically 30% into it, and it is Vampires of Eden, book 1, and this is Oliver's book by Carla Nicole. I just want to show off this cover because I think it is absolutely stunning. I have read Carla Nicole before. I read Lauren Lust. I read the 3 books in that series. I think it's only 3. The first 3 books for sure. I loved it. It was so cute. It's an Friends to Lovers. The first 2 books are Friends to Lovers. They're both vampires. It was just so cozy. I loved it. Now this one I'm 30% in, and if I'm not mistaken, he's supposed to get married to a different person and he starts falling for someone else. So it's more of like a historical setting where he is kind of forced to, like, he's put into an arranged marriage by his father, and he doesn't really like his father. He doesn't really get along with his father, and I don't know if he's gonna like break out of that marriage or if something's gonna happen. I don't know. I'm only 30% in, but my friend Samantha from Books with Samantha gifted this to me, and I literally just put it on my wish list and it showed up, and I was like, Samantha, what are you doing? But thank you so much, Samantha, for sending me this because I think this cover is absolutely stunning. This is literally how I picture Oliver, so it's a very perfect portrayal of him. So I'm very excited to continue on, but this is more like, because I think they're vampires. I could be wrong. Maybe like he's not a vampire. I think he has magical powers if I'm not mistaken. Like I said, I'm not very far into it, so you know, I think it's more of like paranormal historical setting, but yeah. Now the next one is one I think I'm gonna read mostly, I think in July if I'm not mistaken, and that is Kingdom of Claw by Demi Winter. So this is the second book in the Ashen series. I read the first book, The Road of Bones. It was so good. I really loved it. Like I said, that was more of like a Viking traveling. The found family was so good. I compared that book to kind of like Six of Crows if you love found family. The found family in that book really kept it going for me. But the way that book one ended, I was like, what? Did not see that coming. Okay, we're just gonna keep secrets throughout this whole book. Now, the audiobook for this one comes out in July, and for The Road of Bones, I physically read along and I listened to the audiobook, and I loved that experience because I really love the narrators. So I think I'm gonna wait till July to dive into this one, unless I'm like, you know what? No, I want to pick it up now and try it. So I do have the ebook on my Kindle because it is in Kindle Unlimited, but I am very excited for this one to just kind of catch up on the series. Now, the next 3 books I have, or the 2 books I have that I really want to talk about, are more fantasy heavy. So the first one is Empire of the Vampire by Jade. So this one that I got has like a lot of really cool, I don't know if the original, but the paperback has like drawings and stuff like that. And honestly, I do want my husband to read this with me. Will he? Probably not. I don't know really anything about this, but I know Empire of the Damned. Is that the second book? I can't remember. The second book just came out. I see people reading that. Now, I do know this is a very gory, fantasy heavy book, and I'm okay with that. I just have to be like in the mindset for it. So I am interested. I think I put this on a 24 books to read in 2024. If I'm not mistaken, but I'm very excited because I've just like heard really good things, and I think this will like change up fantasy for me a little bit because it's so different. Yeah, I don't know. You can tell me if you've read this. I don't know, the drawings. Okay, that's a little creepy. The drawings are like really cool. It's very like, if I were to physically read it, very like atmospheric because you like get the visual, you know, what's happening in that chapter or whatever. Manacled was like that. When I read Manacled, the fanfic had like art in there from an artist that, you know, drew stuff. So that's what the vibe is giving me. Not Manacled vibes, just like that atmospheric, all immersive thing. So very excited. I'll definitely pick up the audiobook and physically read along at some point, but let me know if you've read this or if you've heard anything because I've only heard really good things. So I'm very intrigued. So I only have 2 books left, and one is adult fantasy and one is YA fantasy, and the first one is Jade City by Fonda. So I have actually heard Crystal from Crystal's Bookish Life. She recently read this whole series, and it was like 5-6 star reads for her. She had the best time. I have heard, before she read this, I bought this back in December, and because I heard that it was so good, and I've heard some of my friends read it here on BookTube, and now I'm like very intrigued. I'm like, I don't know, like I'm really interested in new and different fantasy romances or fantasy books, and I think this is more like fantasy heavy. And I do know that this whole series is done really well, and I think the found family is what a lot of people love, and I'm just very intrigued. I'm very intrigued, and I want to read it. They have some, I think this is more of like a high fantasy because it's like a new city with powers and all that stuff. That's really all I know. I like to go into some fantasy kind of blind, just kind of like immersive and just go along for the ride and not have any expectations. So I'm very excited for this one, but I've heard great things about this series. So maybe in May, June, we'll do a read along. Trying to plan it. The next one is a new release that I actually put on a anticipated releases, The Infinity Alchemist, or I think it's just Infinity Alchemist by Case and Calendar. So I went to Charleston in Sweetgrass. We went to a bookstore and they actually had this hardback, and they just had one, which that's stunning. But when you open it up, they have character art on the inside, and I absolutely love character art, especially for YA fantasy. I think some publishers for YA fantasy, they do a really good job like making the YA books feel really special, even though it's just like the original edition. So this is a, I think YA, oh, it's a deeply romantic fantasy, spellbinding, fast-paced, explores the meaning of power, who is worthy of it, and what people are willing to do in its pursuit. So it's interesting because it says, this is someone talking about it, Case and Calendar's diverse cast of queer and polyamorous characters provides some much needed representation to the YA fantasy genre, which makes me very excited for this. I think I have the audiobook on hold. If not, I'm gonna go place it on hold. Apparently practicing alchemy for Ashwoods is a crime. So it's apparently only X amount of people, permitted people, are allowed to study magic, which I love that. I'm very excited. This will probably be a summer read for me, depending on when the audiobook comes in, but that's another romantasy, I guess, romantasy I want to read, but I'm very excited. Those are all the books that are currently on my romantasy TBR. I probably have some more on my shelves that I could probably pull all of them down and talk about, but those are just ones that right off the bat I am dying to read. I'm very interested in. You can let me know if you have any romantasy or fantasy books that you're dying to read in the comments down below. I would love to know. For the emoji, drop me a, ooh, what kind of emoji? Drop me a green heart emoji for Jade City. I don't know. Just green. I don't know why. Drop me a green heart emoji in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe for more content from me. As always, I hope you're living a novel life, and I will see you in my next one. Bye, guys.